Okay, so today we're going to do Unit 10.1 exam. A lot of these questions will be on your next test. These are all about the world in 1750 CE. You can remember CE is the same time period we are in now. It means Common Era. A long, long time ago, it was BCE, or before Common Era. So this is 1750 CE, about 250 years ago. Okay, number one. Historians need to determine the authenticity of a source in order to. So the first thing I want to talk about is this word authenticity. So authenticity means the realness. Okay, authentic is real. So they need to make sure a source is real. So for example, if we are talking about, well, I see over here in this question, we're talking about Japan. So let's say I was talking about a source from Japan in the 1800s, and I wanted to make sure it was real. I wanted to make sure someone didn't write it today and pretend it was written a long time ago. So now we want to find out why historians need to decide if something is real or not. Okay. So establish its usefulness. Maybe a real document would be useful if I was researching. A fake document would not be useful, so I'm going to leave that one. Reinforce popular opinion. I'm going to cross it out. This has nothing to do with opinions. We're looking for what's real and factual. To demonstrate the significance of religious beliefs. Well, we can't always prove things in religion, first of all, and that has nothing to do with our word real. Determine the characteristics of propaganda. Propaganda is often actually not real, so I'm going to cross that off. So authentic, useful, there, number one. Okay, number two. So let me switch back to my highlighter here. Which social scientists focused their studies on scarcity, resources, and profit? Okay, so we did a lot of questions like this before. So when we see the word scarcity, we're talking about not a lot of stuff. Resources, things that you have, and profit means money. So I think this is an easy one for us because we've done this before. Money. Who deals with money? Archaeologists deal with culture and things that are old, not money. Historians deal with the past, not money. Economists deal with money. Sociologists deal with society or people. So it's three, economists. So whenever you see scarcity, resources, profit, any of those words tell you it's economist. Okay, number three. A geographer attempts to understand and interpret patterns and processes primarily by. Okay, so we know just like when you see economist, you're looking for money. Geographer is land. So we're looking for something about land. Examining political theories? No. That's a politician, political scientist. It's not a geographer. Authenticating, there's that word again, authenticating, real. So making sure oral histories are real. That sounds like something a anthropologist would do, so I'm going to cross that out. Studying supply and demand. Oh, supply, economist. So I'm going to cross out 3. I know the answer is 4. I haven't even read it. Analyzing spatial data at different scales. Okay, this is a great example of a question where I don't know if I'd even know that answer. But question 2 helped me eliminate number 3. And question 1 with that word authentic helped me eliminate number 2. And I knew it wasn't political. Spatial means space and place. So that works with land. Land takes up space, and you're analyzing space at different scales. That makes sense. But it's a great example of how on a Regents question, other questions could help you with the answer. Okay. Number 4. Akbar the Great tried to unify the Mughal Empire and create peace between the different people of India by. Okay, so this is a difficult question because I don't know anything about Akbar the Great. But what I'm going to do here is try to look at the words I do know. So I have the word unify, and unify means to bring together. bring together. So now I'm going to try to solve this question just by knowing the definition of this word unify. So unify and create peace. Okay, promoting a policy of religious toleration. So that means allowing everyone to practice their own religion. I think that would bring people together and create peace, so I'm going to leave that. Forcing all people to adopt modern dress. No, that word force is not good if you're talking about creating peace. Building the Taj Mahal to inspire healing, or establishing Buddhism as a state religion. Okay, so I can only cross out 2 based on this word unify. But I am going to tell you another little trick for taking a Regents test. These 2 questions are very localized. They're very small. They're talking about one building and one religion. This answer choice is talking about religious toleration. It's more broad. It's broader. So pick the broader one. So I'm going to pick number 1, promoting a policy of religious toleration. And I know that's right. So number 1 is correct. So when you can't eliminate ones, pick the ones that sound the most like a Regents answer. This sounds the most like a Regents answer. They're not going to test you on one building, and they're not generally going to test you on one religion. But will they test you on religious toleration? Yes. So now I can remember that Akbar the Great promoted religious toleration. Okay, number 5. Base your answer to question 5 on the diagram below. Okay, so we have the emperor. He has the highest rank in society, but he has no real political power. Then we have the shogun, the daimyo, the samurai, the peasants, the artisans, the merchants. Okay, so if you see right here, 3/4 of the population. So I don't really like this chart. It should really look more like this. We should probably do a triangle chart for this. Here's the emperor up here, just at the very top. And then the daimyo, the samurai, and the shogun. They're all just at the very top. But all the rest of this big triangle you see here, these are all poor people. So we have the rich at the very top and the poor taking up the vast majority of this triangle. So when we see something like this where you have very few people in power and you have a lot of people down here, we call that feudal. Okay? If you saw tribal, it would be a bunch of small groups working maybe together, maybe fighting, so it's not tribal. Theocratic, that means based on religion. Fascist is one leader, but it's not quite as specific as this, where the bottom is the poor. So remember this, feudal. We see this a lot in Japan in the 1700s and also in Europe in the 1500s, maybe early 1600s. So this is a feudal society. Okay, so this is the last question on this assessment. Base your answer to question 6 on the information below and on your knowledge of social studies. And most of the questions that you're going to see on the Regents exam have something, a text or a picture or a map that you can get the answer from. So, Edict of 1635, ordering the closing of Japan. So I'm going to write down some important words here since I have space. Closing. So if something's closed, no one goes in. No one goes in or out. If a store is closed, no one can go in and probably no one could come out. So same thing with a country. Okay. Japanese ships are strictly forbidden to leave for foreign countries. Forbidden to leave. No Japanese is permitted to go abroad. If there is anyone who attempts to do so secretly, he must be executed. That means killed. The ship so involved must be impounded and its owners arrested, and the matter must be reported to the higher authority. So if a Japanese person tries to leave the country, go abroad, that's what that means. If they try to go to China or the U.S., they would be executed. and their ship would be taken away. If any Japanese returns from overseas after residing there, he must be put to death. So if any Japanese comes back from the U.S. or from Canada or China after 1635, they'd be executed. Any informer revealing the whereabouts of the followers of Christians must be rewarded accordingly. If anyone reveals the whereabouts of a high-ranking padre or father, he must be given 100 pieces of silver. For those of lower rank, depending on the deed, the reward will be set accordingly. So no Christians, which makes sense because Christianity would be an outside influence. So no Christians, no outside influences. So let's go right to the answer here. Totalitarianism, that's when one person is in charge. So I'm going to cross it out. It doesn't say anything about who's in charge. We know that the emperor is in charge because of the last question and the shogun, but we don't see anything about them there, so it doesn't have anything to do about the leader. Appeasement. Appeasement is a word that we are going to learn later. It's about letting someone have a little, so that has nothing to do with this. Interdependence is when you depend on someone else. And you can see that's actually the opposite of this. They don't want to depend on anyone else. They want to be completely alone. And then number 4, isolationism. That is from the word isolate. You might know that from science. It's to keep alone or keep separate. So that's the answer. Japan was in a period of isolationism. Okay, so those are 6 questions that might be on your next test.